HOA Karen calls police because her party guests couldn't park in my driveway. The ultimate clash of entitlement. Introduction. A neighbor who thought she owned the block. It was just another sunny afternoon in the quiet suburban town of Willow Creek. Or so I thought. As I stepped out to enjoy the fresh air and trim the hedges, I noticed something odd. Several cars parked near my driveway, blinkers on, drivers glancing nervously at my front yard. I didn't think much of it at first. But then, I came back outside for my gardening gloves and saw it. One of those cars had crept halfway into my driveway. I waved them off, politely gesturing them to park on the street, but the driver, a woman in a sleek silver Mercedes, rolled down her window just enough to snap, "Karen said we could park here." Who's Karen? I thought. I had no idea. Minutes later, she appeared. Karen, with her platinum bob, oversized sunglasses, and clipboard. I could already tell that this wasn't going to be a simple misunderstanding. "Hi there," she chirped, acting like I was the one intruding. "Just a heads up, we're having a little get-together, and my guests will need to park here. We're short on curb space." This was my driveway, the place where I park my car every night. But she didn't seem to care about that. "Exactly," she continued. "You're not using it right now, are you?" I tried to explain that driveways weren't public property, but she wasn't hearing it. She was certain she had the right to commandeer my property, all because of some imaginary community event. 2. Karen's escalation. When community means control. After my firm refusal, Karen wasn't done. She walked back to her house and returned with an orange traffic cone from her garage, one that had HOA scribbled on it in black Sharpie. She planted it at the edge of my driveway like some sort of roadblock, as if she were the mayor of the neighborhood. It didn't end there. An hour later, the music started blasting, and I watched in disbelief as Karen's guests began parking on the grass and sidewalks, their cars creeping toward my driveway. It was chaos. Karen had given out hand-drawn maps with my driveway labeled overflow parking. It was clear now, she wasn't just being rude, she was trying to take control. I had to act fast. I moved a heavy planter into the middle of my driveway, hoping it would be enough to keep them out. But of course, it wasn't. Karen came storming back, all angry eyes and dramatic gestures. She accused me of making a scene over a little concrete. I stood my ground. "This is my property," I said calmly. "You have no right to park here." 3. The police arrive. Karen's power play turns to police abuse. Not long after, a police cruiser rolled up. Of course, Karen was right behind it, looking like she had just won a battle. "He's refusing to allow my guests to park," she told the officer dramatically. "It's harassment at this point. This is a community event." The officer raised an eyebrow, clearly confused. I explained the situation again, even offering to show the property deed to prove it was mine. Karen didn't like that. Her demeanor shifted instantly, and the tears started. She cried, saying how hard it was to build unity in the neighborhood when people like me were so selfish. She even asked the officer if he could at least warn me about being neighborly. But the officer wasn't buying it. "Ma'am," he said, "this is private property. You can't commandeer someone's driveway because your party is overcrowded." Karen wasn't about to let it go, though. She claimed she'd be filing a formal complaint and consulting a lawyer. Meanwhile, the officer just told me to keep my driveway blocked, if I wanted to avoid confrontation. IV. Karen's flyers and fake. HOA. A campaign of lies. A few days later, things escalated further. Flyers appeared on everyone's mailboxes. They were printed with a blurry picture of my house, accompanied by bold letters reading, "Uncooperative neighbor. Refused driveway access during community event." Karen had made up an entire narrative, painting me as the villain. The neighborhood was divided. Some neighbors asked if I was really refusing to cooperate, while others stayed out of it. I was getting texts, all of them questioning whether I had really called the cops over something as trivial as parking. But I couldn't let it slide. I took action. I emailed everyone I could, attaching the footage from my security camera showing Karen placing the cones and directing her guests to park in my driveway. The final showdown, HOA gala, and the breaking point. The final straw came when Karen hosted her HOA Unity Night. She handed out invites to everyone, including me, even though I never agreed to attend. But when I saw her guests trying to park in my driveway again, I decided to stand my ground. As the guests started arriving, I kept my eyes on them, ensuring they didn't park in my space. Karen saw me, and her tone grew sharp. She tried to convince me to be a good neighbor, but I wasn't buying it. She could wave her megaphone and tell her stories, but I wasn't going to be her pawn in her delusional HOA world. Eventually, the event fizzled out. I could hear her shouting about community unity, but the truth was, her bubble had burst. Her authority was a farce, and it was finally being exposed. The conclusion. The collapse of Karen's kingdom. A few weeks later, I saw a for sale sign in front of Karen's house. She had lost everything: her fake HOA, her made-up rules, and her reputation. The neighborhood was finally free from her manipulation. In the end, it wasn't about a driveway. It was about power, control, and how one person can try to impose their will on others. But real community isn't built on lies and fake authority. It's built on respect, honesty, and mutual cooperation. Call to action. Have you ever dealt with a Karen or someone like her? What do you think about her actions? Was I right to stand my ground? Or did I take it too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.